Hi folks, it's Coach Kelvin here from the We Run Virtual Run Club, and we run coach for Leeds and surrounding areas as well as online coaching. In this little video, I'd like to share some thoughts on intensity split for runners whose volume is lower than their capacity to deal with it. So what do I mean by that? So an example would be a runner who runs 25 kilometers a week who physically could handle more than that. So maybe they could handle 40 kilometers a week, but that just doesn't fit in with their lives. So they have to run 25 kilometers a week. And we often hear about kind of intensity splits, and it's often mentioned that, most of our running should be predominantly easy. We hear things thrown around like 80-20. So 80% of our training should be predominantly aerobic and the other 20% should be a bit more intense. I've done videos before on 80-20, and one thing to bear in mind with something even like 80-20, that's kind of an average over 12 months. So at times people might be 90-10 in certain training blocks, and other times they might be 60-40. And one runner might average over 12 months something like 70-30, and another runner might average 90-10, depending on the experience and goals of that runner. So 80-20 is not an exact, but what would make the biggest difference to that number is volume. And what we've got to sort of remind ourselves occasionally that if we do most of our running very, very easy, recovery paces, or sort of up to the top end of zone 2, full conversational pace, it becomes volume dependent. So to create a new training stimulus so the body adapts, we have to do more of it. So if someone's going for a sort of very low intensity approach to the running, the volume has to be really high. And that's why we quite often hear of elites. It's like, oh yeah, X, Y, or Z elite does, 80% of their training in zone 1. Well, that's great, but they're probably doing 150 miles a week. So they're also doing quite a lot of other stuff as well. So if you're that runner where you're running low volume because of time constraints and just stuff going on in your life, and you feel like you could handle more in terms of you're not injured, you don't really get muscle soreness, you don't get excessive tiredness through training, have an experiment with your intensity split, whether that's just kind of like upping everything a little bit, or whether that's adding some sessions of more intense training in there. But we'd need to do something. Otherwise, what actually happens is fitness plateaus. And then it actually starts to decrease, that the body just gets very, very good at doing the same thing. So if you're running low volume, but you feel like you could handle more, but you don't have time to do it, throw a little bit more intensity in there. And if you'd like us to sort of cast an eye as coaches on your sort of specific situation, just pop that in the comments below. And if you have any other questions, you can pop those there as well. So I hope that made some sort of sense. And for now, happy running.